Hello, welcome to our presentation for Group Case Study 1. I'm Catherine Goins, and we also have here Jacob Novotny and Matthew Cotton. Okay, so first I'm going to go over some background information, just give information about the case. Basically, Dr. Charles Bennett, who was a former Northwestern University cancer research physician, misused research grant funds for personal expenses between the years of 2003 and 2010. These expenses range from traveling expenses, meals, and sending payments to unqualified family members for their use. A member of Dr. Bennett's team by the name of Melissa Thies, who was a purchasing coordinator for the study, essentially became a whistleblower to come forward about the unauthorized spending. Um, this caused a settlement to come forward where Dr. Bennett had to pay in the amount of $475,000, and Northwestern University paid a settlement of $2.93 million. And this settlement reserved the government's right to bar Dr. Bennett permanently from future federal research funding. So, a potential problem that could have caused this situation to arise is a hierarchical power barrier. And this caused an imbalance in communication and lack of constructive criticism. So basically, as a principal investigator, Dr. Bennett held significant authority over research funding staffs. So it likely stifled upward communication, and it prevented anybody that is under his staff to challenge any type of transactions or questionable activity. Subordinates feared retaliation or career setbacks if they did question his spending. So if they did come across any type of receipts or any type of audit to where things did not add up, they had fear and anxiety about what would happen if they came forward, reporting a principal investigator as such. A lack of psychological safety could prevent employees from reporting on any type of unethical or procedural concerns, basically fearing them losing their jobs or being a part of any type of future research um, as ramifications from coming forward. And a last point could be that communication flow was top down only. So that's basically meaning any type of feedback coming from anybody that wasn't a principal investigator or on the lower staff was basically ignored, which caused no room for any type of feedback or cross checking. So here we have the four C's of team performance for the situation. For context, for organizational and culture climate, the research environment in Northwestern appeared hierarchically driven. And that's basically where authority was rarely questioned, which could have been the case here with Dr. Bennett and his staff. Um, it could have created a culture of silence or any type of discouraging from staff for voicing any type of concerns. For competencies, knowledge, skills, and abilities, team members could have lacked training in grant compliance, any type of communication protocols to kind of know what to do in case of anything like this coming up. And they also could have they could have had weak conflict management skills to know how to carefully but efficiently approach the situation without causing any problems with the staff. For composition, team structure, and power dynamics, since the flow of communication was top down or top heavy, Dr. Bennett basically had control over any type of decision making or final communication. So there was basically lack of anything coming from the bottom as far as constructive criticism or feedback. And the last one here we have change, which is adaptability and responsiveness. The team could have lacked mechanisms to monitor or evaluate the spending. And so they didn't have any type of resources where they could actually report like anonymously with any type of inconsistencies in the budgeting. And also fear of confronting leadership preventing any type of corrective actions and budgeting adjustments.
Long-term ramifications, erosion of institutional trust. The rampant fraud and misuse of NIH grant funds by a professor at Northwestern University at a renowned research institution undermines public confidence in academic integrity and federal research funding. When a prominent university such as Northwestern is implicated in negligent fraud, it ruins the reputation of the institution and may also prevent future grants and donations. It can also increase the burden on research institutions in general, which must now implement more exhaustive compliance and audit protocols to secure future funding. Another long-term ramification is a strain in research culture. Reputable and honest researchers could now face greater bureaucratic scrutiny, delays in funding, and mandatory compliance trainings. This could discourage early career scientists from pursuing federally funded research due to perceived institutional rigidity. Northwestern University ended up paying $2.93 million in 2013 for a legal settlement. This amount of money diverts funds that could have been used for legitimate research activities, infrastructure improvements, and student support programs such as scholarships. Solutions and preventative measures. Strengthen grant compliance infrastructure. Institutions should implement a compliance office that directly oversees federal grant expenditures, travel reimbursements, and consultant contracts. There should be stringent checks and balances and perhaps a system for tracking digital audit trails to prevent conflicts of interest and personal financial abuses. Another preventative measure or solution is enhanced ethics and accountability training. There should be mandatory annual training programs implemented for all principal investigators and administrators that focuses on NIH guidelines, federal cost principles, and ethical conduct in research. Universities should also create confidential internal reporting systems that protects whistleblowers from retaliation while allowing internal resolutions.
So now that we've reviewed how communication failures contributed to this case, our group developed several best practices that could prevent similar issues in future research projects. Um, that includes establishing multi-level financial oversight within the research organization, creating a two-way communication channel, strengthening the ethical culture of the research organization, documenting all grant use communications, and having routine internal audits. So one of the biggest risks in this case was that one individual had complete control over the grant budget. So to prevent that, research organizations should establish financial oversight at multiple levels. So we recommend forming a budget review board made up of the principal investigator, a compliance administrator, and the project manager. All grant-related transactions would require approval from each of these members, and a digital expense tracking log should be used to document all purchases and make that information visible to the entire research team. Uh, Finally, quarterly financial reviews can ensure expenditures remain aligned with NIH and institutional policies. So another major communication failure was the top-down flow of information. Team members had no voice and no safe outlet for feedback. So to fix this, we recommend scheduling monthly research meetings that encourage open discussion and shared problem solving. Also, a digital anonymous feedback tool should be implemented so that staff can report compliance or HR related concerns. Culture does play a huge role in preventing misconduct, so strengthening the ethical culture would mean making integrity a daily priority. We would propose annual training for all team members on ethics in research and whistleblower protections. Leadership should exhibit accountability all the time, acknowledging mistakes and thanking staff who identify concerns. And finally, having a dedicated HR or compliance liaison would give the staff a confidential method of seeking guidance or reporting any issues. Another key practice is rigorous documentation. So every approval, discussion, or decision related to grant spending should be recorded. Written summaries should follow each budget approval, and all communications should be stored in a shared database for transparency. So this would provide an audit trail that would show who approved, verified, and processed each of these transactions. This documentation practice would not only protect the organization, but also create a reliable record for future audits. The final recommendation is to make internal audits a regular part of the research process. So we suggest bringing in third-party auditors and scheduling semi-annual audits to review spending approvals and reporting accuracy. And any audit findings should be used as a learning tool. So this approach would reinforce continuous improvement. And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.